Hi, in this lab, we're going to show you about how to manage input and output redirection. What does that mean exactly? Well, the commands inside Linux are really a process. It's looking for some input so it can execute and provide you with some output. So all commands are really going to be executed by the shell based on what input they receive and will give to you a specific output based on that input. So you, as a user, can change where the input is coming from and where the output is going. The default is that the input will be provided in the command line shell via keyboard, and that's known as the first stream, standard input stream here, stdin, and it's got a numeric value of 0. The stdout is the output stream, usually going to the terminal, so whatever commands are happening, you are finding out the output directly in front of your face because you're sitting in front of that console. So this is that stream with a number 1, and stream with a number 2 is reserved for any errors that occur during command execution. And again, this is also going to be redirected to the output. So the default behavior for input and output for commands, the input is the keyboard, and the output and even the error is going to be redirected to the console. Now think of a situation where you might have some script running, but are not there to actually interpret the output. You might want to collect that output somewhere else. So you might want to redirect this output stream instead of the terminal into some other location, perhaps a log file or an output file or an error log. So it makes sense, and the ability to actually redirect input and redirect output is what really this lab will show. The operators that you can type after your commands will decide what is happening to the output or what is happening to the errors. At the end of the command, you can put a right triangle bracket or the right arrow to redirect output to a file where whatever the contents of the file may be overwritten, or you can append and add to the end of the file with this double bracket for append. When it comes to redirecting the input, so you might want to take input instead of from the keyboard directly from a file. You can take the input from a file using the left triangle bracket or the left arrow, and of course you can also redirect or append errors that happen during command or script execution and redirect them with the number 2, as 2 is that error stream, and redirecting your error towards some error log or some additional file. So coming up in this lab, we're going to go over how to use these operators in order to redirect your input, redirect your output, and redirect your error into files. Stay tuned. In this episode, we're going to be talking about redirection. Now, redirection is something that should be utilized by systems admins when working inside the terminal in order to be able to control the flow of data to and from your commands. So let me explain. When we type some command, such as ls or date or whatever it is, the output goes out to the screen. The input to the command, to the shell, is actually using my keyboard. You can see I typed ls and I press enter and it popped the output over here. And then I typed date and I press enter, and then the output was to my screen. So it should be understood that input is typically reserved for the keyboard and the output is typically reserved for the console, what I'm looking at right now. Now you can actually redirect the input and the output from commands. And why would you want to do that? Well, think of a situation where you might be running a script that might be producing some output, but you're not at the computer, or you may need to share your results. So you need to be able to take the output and actually collect it outside of the console where I have it right now, but when I turn my computer off, it's gone. So I need another way to redirect this output. So let me show you how. Using the forward arrow or the right arrow, triangle bracket that is, I can take whatever the output of this command is and put it somewhere else, into a file, for instance. I'll say file1. Now the command executes, but the results of the command are actually redirected into file1. Now let's actually open up file1. File1 is here, and take a look at it. Well, hey, this is the list that ls is supposed to produce, and here it is inside of my file1. We can do this again with another command, so I'll type date. Without anything, the expected behavior is that the output is to the console, but I can say push this output into file1. Now watch what happens. File1 should have the date, but it has removed the output from my previous command. So this single right arrow is going to simply overwrite the content of the output file. However, the double, if I put ls double arrow with file1, will append the output. So here, observe. You can see the first command, which was date, right? And that's in line 1. And then the second command, which is ls, and that's the next few lines. So you can take any command and take the output and forward it into a file to be able to later analyze or share your results with someone. The same can be done for errors. Errors is reserved for the second output stream. So let's type in error. I'm just going to say ping. And normally, hey, this is the error. But I can say ping number 2 for the second output stream and reserving and appending this error output into the same file. And now, if I open through activities, file1, you can see that when the file opens, I should have access. I do have access to file1. All right, let's close it and open it again. You can see that first command, date, is there. The ls command is here. And finally, my error is also being collected. So let's go ahead and delete some of these right here and go ahead and close and save these changes. And now I have this file. Again, hopefully by now you understand how to redirect your output and redirect your errors. The same could be done for input, by the way. So normally, the sort command will take some input, so I can say A, B, D, C, E, and press Control D to sort this input. However, I can also say, take the input from a file, and it will take the input from a file and execute the command against the input from that file. So you can see now that file is also being sorted using this command. So hopefully this is understandable of how to redirect input, how to redirect output, and how to redirect errors. Thank you for joining me in this episode, and I'll see you in the next one.